She's already afraid of the dark. That makes it easier. Rosa's hands locked around the laundry cart. She stopped breathing. Behind that nursery door, Celeste's voice was smooth, unhurried, the voice of a woman who had already decided. The little girl sleeping inside was 3 years old. Her name was Lily. She called Rosa Ro-Ro and dragged her stuffed rabbit everywhere and laughed like the sound cost her nothing. And someone had just decided she needed to disappear. Rosa didn't pray. She didn't cry. She started counting. She had one night, $400, and absolutely no margin for error. Subscribe right now, drop your city in the comments. I want to see how far this story reaches, and do not move from this screen. Rosa Medina had a rule she'd lived by since she was 19 years old. Hear nothing, say nothing, survive everything. 11 months in the Vega household had only sharpened that rule. She showed up before dawn, she cleaned without complaint, she disappeared before anyone had a reason to notice her. She was good at being nothing. She had practiced it her whole life. But rules break, and sometimes the thing that breaks them is a 3-year-old girl who calls you Ro-Ro and hands you a stuffed rabbit like it's the most important introduction you'll ever make. It was 11:47 on a Tuesday night when Rosa Medina's entire life pivoted on a gap in a door. She was pushing the laundry cart down the East Wing corridor, third pass of the night, head down, quiet as always. She wasn't supposed to be on this floor anymore. Celeste had quietly restructured the evening duties 2 weeks ago, moving Rosa to the West Wing after 9. But the dryer in the East utility room was the only one that didn't shrink cotton, and Lily's blankets had to be washed in the specific cycle Mrs. Paulson had taught her before Mrs. Paulson left. Rosa had kept doing it anyway, quietly, without announcement. That decision, that small, stubborn, invisible act of caring, was the reason she was in that hallway at that exact moment, and the reason she heard everything. The nursery door was open 3 inches, not wide, just enough. Celeste's voice came through first low and controlled the way expensive people spoke when they didn't need to perform. She won't even understand what's happening. That's the mercy of it. Rosa's hand stopped on the cart, a man's voice rougher, impatient. And the timing. You said after the party. After the party, Celeste confirmed. After the papers are signed. Dominic will be in Montreal 3 weeks. A breath, a pause that had weight to it. It has to look like an accident, something quiet. She's afraid of the dark that's our window. Children wake up, they wander, things happen. The cart handle was the only thing keeping Rosa standing. And if Vega, Dominic will be devastated, Celeste said, and her voice didn't change at all. Not a tremor, not a crack, completely flat. That's the point. A grieving father, a loving fiancé at his side. The inheritance consolidates, everything moves forward. Another pause. She's the only obstacle. She's been the only obstacle since day one. Rosa did not breathe, she did not move. She stood in that hallway with the laundry cart under her hands and listened to a woman plan the death of a 3-year-old the way another woman might plan a dinner party. Then she heard footsteps inside the room moving toward the door. And every nerve in her body fired at once. She didn't run. Running made noise. Instead, she turned the cart smoothly like she was simply changing direction, and she walked back down the corridor. Steady, deliberate. Past the guest suite, past the linen closet, down the back stairs to the staff corridor below. She made it to the basement bathroom, locked the door, turned on the faucet, and sat down on the tile floor with her back against the wall. Her hands were shaking so hard, she had to press them flat against her thighs to make them stop. Call the police. The thought arrived immediately, clean and obvious. Call the police right now. But even as it arrived, her mind was already tearing it apart. What did she have? A voice through a 3-inch gap. No recording, no witness. Her word, the word of a housekeeper, undocumented $412 in her account against Celeste Harmon, whose name appeared on charity boards, whose photograph was in last month's Society column, who was engaged to Dominic Vega. Dominic Vega, whose name made city officials return calls within the hour. Rosa pressed the heels of her hands against her eyes. She thought about Lily, the way the little girl had grabbed her hand that morning at breakfast completely without warning just because she felt like it. The way she said, "Ro-Ro, watch," before she did anything she was proud of, as if Rosa's attention was the thing that made it real. She thought about Celeste saying she's already afraid of the dark, and she made a decision. Not loud, not dramatic. The decision arrived the way her most important decisions always did, quietly from somewhere below thought, from the part of her that had been surviving things since before she knew the word for it. I am getting her out of this house. She came out of the bathroom 3 minutes later. She splashed water on her face. She went back upstairs and finished the laundry. She smiled at the night guard when she passed him in the kitchen. Cold tonight, she said. Always is this time of year, he said. She nodded and moved on. Inside, she was already building the plan. The first thing she did was watch the guard's schedule. Not obviously, she didn't stand around noting times. She did it the way she did everything in this house, invisibly. She made note of when he poured his coffee, when he sat down in the staff room, when the feed on camera 3, the one covering the east wing staircase, had its nightly processing delay. She'd noticed that delay 6 weeks ago and filed it away without knowing why. Now she knew. 2 to 2:30. That was the window. The second thing she did was start gathering. Over 4 days, she moved items so slowly, so casually, that not even she could have pointed to a specific moment of decision. Lily's rabbit bun, she took it on the pretense of laundering it and placed it with her own belongings. A spare change of clothes for Lily pulled from the donation bag Celeste had marked for charity and not yet sent. Her own ID, her bank card. Maya's address, her sister in Phoenix, written on a piece of paper in her own handwriting and folded into her sock. The third thing she did was not look at Celeste differently. This was the hardest part. Every time Celeste walked into a room, Rosa felt her stomach drop 3 floors. Every time Celeste smiled at Lily with that practiced, photogenic warmth, Rosa had to physically prevent her face from responding to what she knew. She cleaned around Celeste. She answered when spoken to. She was invisible. She was also watching. And on day 4, she saw something that rewired everything. It was early evening. Rosa was in the kitchen. Celeste was in the hallway with Dominic. They were talking quietly, their backs half turned. Rosa wasn't trying to listen, but the kitchen had good acoustics, and Dominic's voice carried. She's been in the staff wing again after hours, Dominic said. Celeste, I've already told you the east wing is. I know, darling, Celeste said. I'm handling it. A pause. What does that mean? It means I'm handling it, Celeste said. Her voice was gentle, patient, the voice of someone who had answers to every question. Trust me. Rosa set down the dish she was holding. Very carefully, very quietly. She's talking about me. Celeste knew. Maybe not everything, maybe not what Rosa had heard, but she knew something was off. She'd noticed. And now she was telling Dominic she was handling it. Rosa's window had just shrunk by half. The next day, Celeste came to find her. Rosa was folding linens in the utility room when she heard the footsteps she'd already learned to identify by sound precise, unhurried the step of someone who had never been in a hurry in their life because the world adjusted its pace for them. She kept folding. Rosa. Not a question, not a greeting. Yes, ma'am. Celeste stood in the doorway. She let the silence run for a moment, another technique Rosa had realized. Silence, it is pressure. You've been with us almost a year. Almost, yes. Dominic values loyalty above everything. Celeste's voice was conversational, warm even. It's foundational to him, to this house. People who understand that, she paused, are protected. People who don't, another pause longer, find that this city is a very small place. Rosa smoothed a crease from the sheet. She lifted her eyes and met Celeste's gaze directly. I understand completely, she said. The moment hung between them. Then Celeste smiled, small, satisfied, and left. Rosa stood in the utility room and gave herself exactly 60 seconds to fall apart. Her hands shook, her throat tightened. She thought for one long, ugly moment, I can't do this. I'm not the person for this. I'm no one. Then the 60 seconds ended, and Rosa Medina, who was careful, who was invisible, who had survived her whole life on the skill of being underestimated, went back to folding the sheets. That night, she moved everything forward by 48 hours. She didn't sleep. She lay on her cot in the dark and ran through the plan so many times it stopped feeling like a plan and started feeling like memory, something that had already happened, something she was simply catching up to. At 1:40 in the morning, she rose. She dressed without a light. She knew this room by touch. She moved to the corridor, retrieved the bag from behind the cleaning supply box in the utility closet, and went upstairs. She used the back staircase, the one the cameras didn't fully cover. The one where the second step from the bottom made no sound if you pressed to the left side of the board. She knew this because she cleaned these stairs twice a week and she paid attention to everything. The house was a different thing at this hour. Every hallway she'd moved through 1,000 times felt longer now, quieter, more watchful. She passed the main study and heard nothing. She passed the room she'd never been permitted to enter and heard nothing. She passed Dominic's closed door and her heart doubled its pace and then steadied again. At the end of the east wing, she stopped. The nursery door was closed. She pressed her palm flat against it for a second. Then she pushed it open. The room was dark except for the small orange glow of the nightlight on the baseboard, a turtle that projected constellations on the ceiling, which Lily had named Gerald for reasons she had never explained and which Rosa had never questioned. Lily was asleep, curled on her side, one fist under her chin, bun bun pressed to her cheek. The constellation from Gerald turned slowly above her. Rosa crossed the room and crouched beside the bed. "Lily," she breathed. Barely a sound. "Lily, baby." The little girl stirred, her eyes open, dark, still, full of sleep, then slowly focusing. "Roro." The voice was tiny, confused. "Hey." Rosa kept her voice barely above a breath. "Hey, it's me. I need you to do something really important for me, okay? I need you to be very, very quiet, like a secret." Lily's brow furrowed. "A secret?" "The biggest one," Rosa said. "Can you do that?" The little girl thought about this with the gravity that only 3-year-olds bring to small decisions. Then she nodded. "Bun Bun too." "Bun Bun too," Rosa confirmed. "Bun Bun is essential to this mission." She lifted Lily, wrapped her in the blanket, tucked the rabbit under Lily's arm, and pressed the small, warm weight of her against her chest. Lily put her head down on Rosa's shoulder without another word, like it was the most natural thing. Rosa straightened. She moved to the door. She was one step into the hallway when she heard it. A door, down the hall. Not the guard. The guard was in the kitchen. She'd timed it. She was sure of it. This door was in the opposite direction. The east wing. And it was opening. Rosa pressed herself back into the nursery doorway. She didn't breathe. She held Lily against her, one hand supporting the little girl's back, the other pressed flat against the wall. Footsteps, slow, deliberate, coming closer. She counted silently. 1, 2, 3. They stopped. The silence that followed was the longest 7 seconds of her life. Then they moved away. A different door opened the bathroom across the hall. Closed. Rosa exhaled so slowly it was almost nothing. She waited. She counted to 30. Then she moved. Through the east wing, through the service corridor, through the back kitchen passage where the walls were unfinished plaster and the single overhead bulb had burned out 6 weeks ago and nobody had replaced it yet. Through the exit door that she'd confirmed 3 nights running was never alarmed after 1 a.m. because the alarm company had a contract dispute with Dominic that hadn't been resolved. She pushed the door open. Cold air. October. The kind that has teeth. She wrapped the blanket tighter around Lily and walked. Not ran. Walked. Down the service road. Past the camera on the east gate pillar that covered a 60-degree angle and nothing to the right of it. Through the shadow of the hedgerow where the gravel ended and the pavement began. To the gate. The keypad glowed faintly. Rosa punched in the 6-digit code she had memorized her second week the way she memorized everything that might one day matter, not because she'd planned this, but because she was always paying attention. The gate clicked. She pushed through. Behind her, the Vega estate was silent and dark and completely unaware. Ahead of her, the road curved down toward the city, and far away a single streetlight burned orange against the black. Lily lifted her head from Rosa's shoulder. She looked around at the dark street, at the cold, at the woody, empty silence of it. "Roro," she said very quietly. "Where are we going?" Rosa held her tighter. She looked straight ahead. She had $412. A bag with 2 changes of clothes, a handwritten address in her sock, a phone with 43% battery, and a 3-year-old who was trusting her completely with a totality that only children are capable of, the kind of trust that has no contingency, no backup plan, no doubt. "Somewhere safe," Rosa said. "I promise." She didn't look back. She walked. And somewhere behind that gate in an estate that was still and dark and silent, a woman named Celeste was sleeping in a king-size bed, completely confident that everything was under control. She had no idea. The city doesn't wait for people who are afraid. Rosa had learned that a long time ago, but it does sometimes make room for people who keep moving. She kept moving. The first cab she flagged didn't stop. The second one slowed, saw a woman holding a child wrapped in a blanket at 2 in the morning on an empty road, and kept going. Rosa stood at the curb and watched the taillights disappear and told herself that was fine. That was expected. She had a backup. She pulled out her phone and opened the ride app with one hand, the other still holding Lily against her chest. 43% battery. She needed to be careful with that. She requested the ride confirm the pickup and stood very still in the dark, watching the little dot on the screen move toward her. Lily had fallen back asleep on her shoulder. The trust in that, the complete, unguarded weight of a sleeping child, made Rosa's chest ache in a way she didn't have time for right now. The car arrived in 4 minutes. The driver was a heavy-set man in his 50s who glanced in the rearview mirror once and then looked back at the road. "Late night," he said, not really asking. "Early morning," Rosa said. He nodded and drove. She gave him the address of the Greyhound station downtown, and he didn't ask anything else. And she was grateful in a way that made her eyes sting. She looked out the window at the city moving past and let herself have exactly 90 seconds of feeling. Fear, relief, the particular terror of someone who has just stepped off a cliff and hasn't hit the bottom yet. She let it move through her, and then she set it aside because she needed to think, and thinking required space that emotion didn't leave. She had $412. The bus to Phoenix was $68 one way. That left her enough for food for a few days of breathing room at Maya's for whatever came next. It wasn't much. It was more than nothing. She had worked with less. The bus station at 2:30 in the morning was the kind of place that asked no questions and offered no comfort. Rosa liked both of those things right now. She bought 2 tickets, one for herself, one for Lily, who she listed as her daughter without blinking, and found a bench in the far corner away from the overhead lights where she could see every entrance. Lily woke up when Rosa sat down. She looked around at the station with sleepy, serious eyes, then looked at Rosa. "Are we on a bus?" she asked. "Not yet. Soon." "Does the bus have snacks?" "Probably not good ones." Lily considered this. "That's okay," she said with the philosophical acceptance of someone who had not yet learned to be disappointed by small things. She pulled Bun Bun tighter and leaned her head back against Rosa's arm and closed her eyes again. Rosa watched the door. 40 minutes later, her phone buzzed. It was a number she didn't recognize. She stared at it for 3 full seconds. Then she silenced it and put the phone face down on her thigh. It buzzed again. Same number. She flipped it over. A text this time. "Rosa, this is Dominic Vega. I need to know where my daughter is. Please call me." Her stomach dropped straight through the floor. She read it twice, then a third time. Then she put the phone down and looked at the door and made herself breathe. He knew. Somehow he already knew. It wasn't even 3 in the morning. She'd been gone, she counted back 90 minutes, maybe less. Celeste must have checked. Or a camera had caught something she'd missed. Or her phone buzzed again. This time it rang. The same number. She watched it ring and didn't answer and felt her pulse in her temples. When it stopped, a voicemail appeared. She hesitated. Then she pressed play and held the phone to her ear. His voice was controlled, but there was something underneath it. Not anger, something rawer than that. "Rosa, I don't know what's happened. I don't know what you think you're doing, but Lily is 3 years old and she doesn't have her medication with her, her allergy pen. It's in the nightstand drawer, and if she has a reaction..." His voice tightened. "Please, just tell me she's safe. That's all I'm asking." Rosa's hand was shaking. She hadn't known about the allergy pen. She sat very still and looked at Lily, who was asleep against her arm, and thought, think, think, think. The pen was in the nightstand. Back in the house she'd just escaped. Back in a room she could not return to. If Lily had a reaction to food, to something in the air, to something Rosa didn't even know was a trigger. She picked up the phone. She called back. It rang once. "Rosa." His voice was immediate, fully awake, fully focused, no greeting. "She's safe," Rosa said. Her voice came out steadier than she expected. "She's with me and she's safe." A silence, long enough that she wondered if he was tracing the call. Then where is she, Mr. Vega? I need you to listen to me very carefully. Where is my daughter? I will tell you everything, Rosa said, but you have to listen first, please. I'm asking you to give me 3 minutes. Another silence, shorter this time. Then talk. Rosa talked. She didn't soften it. She didn't build to it. She told him exactly what she'd heard through that nursery door, the words, the timing, the man's voice, Celeste's voice. The 3 weeks. Montreal. She's already afraid of the dark. That makes it easier. She said it all in one continuous stream, barely breathing, because she knew that the moment she stopped, he would start talking, and she needed him to have all of it before he said a single word. When she finished, the silence on the other end was absolute. She waited. Rosa. His voice had changed. She couldn't name what it had changed into. It wasn't the raw fear from the voicemail, and it wasn't the controlled authority of the man she'd seen in the hallway. It was something quieter, something that frightened her more somehow than either of those things. If what you're saying is true, I'm not lying to you, she said. I have nothing to gain from lying to you. If it's true, he said again, and she heard him working through it audibly in the measured way of someone who dealt in facts and consequences, then you ran with my daughter in the middle of the night instead of coming to me. Yes. Why? Because I didn't know if you'd believe me, she said, and because I didn't know if you'd tell her. The silence that followed was so complete she could hear him breathing. Then he said very quietly, "Tell me where you are." And this was the moment she had been dreading since she'd made the call, because she didn't know the answer to the question underneath that question. Tell me where you are could mean I'm coming to help you. Or it could mean I'm coming to bring my daughter home and deal with you separately. Or it could mean something she didn't want to think about, something that happened to people who cross men like Dominic Vega. Something that never made the news because the right people were paid to make sure it didn't. She didn't know him. She had cleaned his floors for 11 months and spoken to him 9 times, and she did not know him. Mr. Vega, she said carefully, I want to trust you. I genuinely do. But right now, the only thing keeping your daughter safe is the fact that no one knows where she is. I'm her father. I know that. She needs her medication. Rosa closed her eyes for a half second. He wasn't wrong. He was absolutely not wrong. What is she allergic to? She said. Tell me what to avoid. Tree nuts, cashews specifically. She ate a cashew at a party last spring and he stopped. Rosa, I need to see my daughter. I know you do, she said, and I think you should, but I need something from you first. What? I need to know that Celeste is not in your house when I bring her back. A long pause. What you're describing would mean that I have to. I know what it means, Rosa said. I know what I'm asking. And I know that she is your fiancée and you love her, and I am no one. I understand exactly what I'm asking you to believe here. You're asking me to believe that the woman I'm about to marry planned to kill my child. Yeet, Rosa said. I am. The silence this time went on so long that Rosa looked at the phone screen to make sure the call was still connected. It was. Then Dominic Vega said in a voice she had never heard from him before, flat and quiet and final, give me 2 hours. 2 hours for what, Mom? 2 hours and Celeste will not be in my home. A pause. And Rosa, if you run with my daughter again before I can get to you, I will find you. I want you to understand that clearly. Not as a threat, as a fact. Rosa believed him on both counts. 2 hours, she said, don't move. He hung up. Rosa sat on the hard bench in the Greyhound station and held the phone in both hands and thought, what have I just done? Lily stirred beside her. Ro, she said, without fully opening her eyes, I'm hungry. I know, baby, Rosa said. She looked up at the vending machine across the station. Let me get you something. She bought crackers. Plain the only thing she could confirm was safe. She brought them back and opened the packet, and Lily ate them with the focused seriousness of someone conducting important research, 1 cracker at a time, and Rosa sat beside her and watched the door and waited. 1 hour and 43 minutes later, her phone rang. She picked it up before the first ring finished. Yes. It's done. Dominic's voice was completely without inflection. She's gone. I need the address. What did you tell her? That I knew. A beat. She didn't deny it. Rosa felt the air leave her body in one long exhale. She didn't deny it. She repeated, not a question. No. His voice was still flat, controlled in a way that cost something. She could hear the cost of it. She made a case. He stopped. It doesn't matter what she said. It's done. Where are you? Rosa gave him the address. Don't move, he said again. 40 minutes after that, a black car pulled up outside the Greyhound station. Not a sedan, something larger, tinted windows, a driver she didn't recognize. She stood up, Lily in her arms, and watched it park. The back door opened and Dominic Vega stepped out. He looked like a man who had aged 2 years and 2 hours. He crossed the pavement toward her and stopped 3 feet away, and his eyes went immediately entirely to his daughter. Lily looked at him. Daddy, she said, simple as that, the way children name the most important things, without preamble, without wait, just recognition. She reached one arm toward him, bun dangling from her fist. He took her in one motion, and the way he held her, that immediately said everything about Dominic Vega that 11 months in his house hadn't told her. He pressed his face into his daughter's hair and closed his eyes and stood there in front of a Greyhound station at 4:30 in the morning, holding his daughter like the world had just tried to take her and barely failed. Rosa stood a few feet away and looked at the pavement and gave him the moment. Then he looked up. His eyes found hers, and she braced herself because this was the part she hadn't been able to plan for. This was the part where the variables ran out. You should have come to me, he said, not accusatory, just direct. Yes, she said, maybe, but I didn't know if you'd. I know, he said. I understand why you didn't. He looked at her steadily. That doesn't mean you were right. No, she said, it doesn't. Lily had already fallen asleep against his shoulder, bun pressed between them. Dominic looked at his daughter for a moment, then back at Rosa. The man with Celeste, he said. You heard his voice. Would you recognize it? I don't know. Maybe. I need you to think about that. Mr. Vega. Dominic? She paused. I need you to understand something, and I can tell you what I heard. I can tell you exactly what she said. But I need to know that this doesn't just disappear, that it goes somewhere real. That Lily doesn't go back into a situation where it will not disappear, he said. And his voice for the first time tonight had the quality she'd associated with him from the hallway, from those 9 brief conversations, the absolute unmovable certainty of a man who had not in his adult life made a promise he failed to keep. You have my word. Rosa looked at him. She decided. Okay, she said. He nodded once. He looked toward the car. Come, he said. We're going somewhere safe. And Rosa Medina, who had started this night with $400 and a plan built of nothing but nerve, picked up her bag and followed Dominic Vega to his car. She didn't know yet what she'd walked into. She didn't know yet what Celeste had said when confronted, what deal or threat or story she'd offered in those 40 minutes. She didn't know what Dominic Vega intended to do, or what it meant to have the protection of a man like him, or whether protection from him was something entirely different from the kind she was used to. She didn't know that the man in Celeste's conversation, the rough-voiced, impatient man who'd asked about timing, had a name, or that Dominic Vega already knew that name, or that knowing it was the most dangerous thing in any room. She didn't know any of that yet. She got in the car. The city moved past the tinted windows, orange and gray, in the pre-dawn dark, and Lily slept across the seat between them. And for a few minutes, the only sound was the engine and the road, and Lily's soft, steady breathing. Then Dominic said quietly, to no one in particular. She didn't deny it. You said that, Rosa said. I keep saying it, he said, because I'm trying to understand it. He looked out the window. I've known Celeste for 2 years. We've been engaged for 6 months. A pause. She sat across from me at dinner last night. She kissed my daughter goodnight. His jaw tightened. She did all of it, and she was already. He stopped. Rosa said nothing. There was nothing to say to that. Some things you had to carry to the end of the sentence yourself. After a moment, he said, thank you. She looked at him. For not running, he said. For calling me back. He glanced at Lily at Bun tucked under his daughter's arm. She would have panicked without the rabbit, he said almost to himself. She loses that thing, and the whole house falls apart. I knew that, Rosa said. He looked at her. Something shifted in his expression, not quite surprise, more like recalibration, like he was seeing something he hadn't accounted for. "I know," he said. "That's why you took it." The car turned onto a road she didn't recognize, heading somewhere she hadn't been told. And Rosa held her bag on her lap and watched the city thin out around them and told herself she had made the right call. She told herself that. She was mostly sure she believed it. But then her phone buzzed one final time. A text, unknown number, different from Dominic's. 4 words. "You made a mistake." Rosa stared at those 4 words until the screen went dark. "You made a mistake." She didn't show Dominic the phone, not immediately. She sat with it face down on her thigh and told herself to think before she moved, which was the same thing she'd been telling herself since 11:47 the night before, and it had kept her alive this long. The unknown number was different from Dominic's. Different format. No area code she recognized. And the timing it had arrived less than 4 minutes after she'd given Dominic her location. 4 minutes. She looked at the back of the driver's head. She looked at Dominic, who was watching the city through the window, with the particular stillness of a man doing very loud thinking in complete silence. She looked at Lily asleep between them, one small hand curled open on the seat like she was waiting for someone to put something in it. She picked up her phone and turned the screen toward Dominic without saying a word. He read it. His expression didn't change, but his hand resting on his knee closed slowly into a fist and then opened again. "When did this come?" he said. 4 minutes ago, after I gave you the address." He said nothing. He pulled out his own phone and typed something, put it away, looked straight ahead. "Mr. Vega." "Dominic." "Someone knew where I was. Someone knew I called you." "Yes," he said, "which means either my phone is compromised or yours is, or someone in my organization told the wrong person something they shouldn't know." His voice was absolutely level. "I'm aware of what it means." The car turned. Rosa pressed her back against the seat. "Who did you call?" she said in those 2 hours, "before you came to get to me?" He was quiet for a beat too long. "Dominic, who did you call?" "2 people," he said. "My head of security and my attorney." "And you trust both of them?" "I trusted Celeste 6 hours ago," he said. "So understand that I'm currently revising several things." That landed. Rosa felt it land and said nothing. He pulled out his phone again, looked at something on the screen, and said to the driver, "Change of route, the Hartwell property." The driver nodded without asking anything. Rosa noticed that the absolute absence of any question. Wherever the Hartwell property was, this driver didn't need to be told what it meant or why. She filed that away and said, "Tell me about the man in the room with Celeste." Dominic looked at her. "You said she didn't deny it," Rosa said, "which means you talked, which means she gave you something. You've been too quiet since you got in this car for someone who just found out the woman he loves tried to have his daughter killed. You're already working, so tell me what she gave you." Another silence, shorter this time. He was recalibrating her again. She could see it happening. He'd come to that station expecting to collect his daughter from a frightened housekeeper. He was getting something different. "His name is Warren Finch," Dominic said. "He worked in my legal department. He's been with the firm for 4 years. His jaw moved. "Celeste met him 2 years ago, which means the relationship started before you," Rosa said. "Yes. Which means this wasn't impulsive." "No," he said, "it wasn't." Rosa thought about the woman who had stood in the laundry room doorway with that small, satisfied smile, the warmth that never reached her eyes. 8 months of dinners and weekend trips and kissing Lily goodnight. 8 months of building a life that was always from day one a structure designed to collapse with Lily inside it. "She told you all of this voluntarily," Rosa said. "She told me some of it." He paused. "The rest I found in the 40 minutes before I came to get you." "What does that mean?" He looked at her steadily. "It means I have resources that don't require someone's voluntary cooperation." Rosa decided not to ask the follow-up question on that. Some doors once opened don't close comfortably. "Where is Celeste now?" she asked instead. "Somewhere she can't make phone calls," he said, "temporarily." "And Warren Finch?" "That," he said, "is what I'm working on." Lily made a small sound in her sleep and shifted, pressing closer to her father's side. Dominic put his hand on her back without looking at her, automatic, unconscious, the reflex of a man who had been soothing this particular child in her sleep for 3 years. Something about that gesture did something to Rosa's chest that she chose to ignore. The text, Rosa said. If Finch sent it, he didn't send it himself, Dominic said. He has someone. Celeste always had someone for things she didn't want attached to her directly. So there are three of them. At minimum. The car slowed, stopped. Rosa looked out the window, a gate different from the Vega estate, lower, less visible from the road. They passed through and she heard gravel under the wheels. Whose property is this? She asked. Mine, he said. Not on record as mine. That's the point. He looked at her. You and Lily will stay here. I have staff here who are not connected to the main house. No one from the estate knows this address. No one from my legal team knows it either. And you, Ikiyahu. I have to go back. He said it without drama, the way you state a fact that's unfortunate but non-negotiable. Rosa looked at him. To do what? To finish this. Dominic, Finch is still out there, he said, and whoever he used to send that text, if I leave those threads unresolved, you and Lily are not safe regardless of what address you're at. He said it simply without embellishment. This only ends one way. She didn't ask him what way that was. She already knew. She'd known from the moment she dialed his number from that bus station bench. You didn't call a man like Dominic Vega for help and then express surprise at the methods. She had done what she'd had to do. So would he. The car stopped. A woman Rosa had never seen met them at the door, 50s, efficient, no expression of surprise at the hour or the circumstances. The room upstairs is ready, she said. Rosa carried Lily inside and up the stairs and laid her on a bed that was warm and clean and already had a nightlight plugged in. She stood there looking at the sleeping child for a long moment. Bun tucked under her arm and felt the specific exhaustion of someone who has been running on adrenaline for so long that when it starts to ebb, the body doesn't know what to do with the quiet. She went back downstairs. Dominic was in the kitchen, standing at the counter with a cup of coffee he wasn't drinking, staring at nothing. He looked up when she came in. She's asleep, Rosa said. He nodded. Say what you're thinking, she said. You've been not saying it for an hour. He set down the cup. I'm thinking about the night Lily's mother died, he said. I'm thinking that at the time I accepted it as an accident, because accidents happen, because I'd seen enough of the world to know that bad things don't always have reasons. He paused. I'm thinking now that I should have asked more questions. The room went very still. You think Celeste was involved in your wife's death, Rosa said. I don't know, he said, and that is a very different thing from believing she wasn't. He looked at his hands. 2 years ago, Celeste came into my life 4 months after the accident. I thought that was just... He stopped. I thought it was timing. Rosa sat down in a chair at the kitchen table. What was your wife's name? Elena, he said. He didn't follow it with anything, just the name sitting in the air. I'm sorry, Rosa said. You don't have to. I know I don't have to, she said. I'm saying it anyway. He looked at her with that recalibrating expression again. Then he said, You're not what I thought you were. What did you think I was? A quiet, he said. Careful. Someone who kept their head down. I am all of those things, she said. You also called me back from a Greyhound station and demanded I listen before you'd tell me where you were, he said. You interrogated me in the car. You are currently sitting in my kitchen at 5 a.m. telling me to say what I'm thinking. He paused. That's not someone who keeps their head down. I keep my head down until I can't anymore, Rosa said. Then I do what has to be done. Something moved across his face, not a smile, not quite. Something more complicated than that. His phone rang. He picked it up, looked at the screen, and his expression closed completely. He answered. Yes. A pause. When? Another pause longer. Don't let him move. He hung up. Rosa watched him. They found Finch, he said. We're airport. He said it like the word tasted bad. He booked a flight 2 hours ago, one way. He's running, Rosa said. He was running, Dominic said. He picked up his jacket from the back of the chair. He's not anymore. What happens to him? Dominic looked at her. It was a long, direct look, the kind that doesn't offer comfort or apology. He gets to tell me everything he knows, he said. Every name, every plan, every conversation he had with Celeste about my daughter. He paused. And then I decide what comes next based on how cooperative he is. Rosa held his gaze. And the text, whoever sent it on his behalf. Same answer, he said. She nodded slowly. She thought about Elena Vega, who had died in a car accident 4 months before Celeste arrived. She thought about Lily asleep upstairs, unaware of everything, clutching a stuffed rabbit named Bun Bun that she'd introduced to Rosa like it had a biography. She thought about the 3-inch gap in the nursery door and Celeste's voice, flat and certain. She's already afraid of the dark. That makes it easier. Go, Rosa said. He was almost to the door when he stopped. He turned back. If anything feels wrong, he said. If anyone you don't recognize comes to this door, if your phone does anything unexpected, you call me. Directly, not through anyone else. Me. Okay. Rosa. He waited until she looked at him. I know you have no reason to trust me. I know that everything you did tonight, you did because you decided you couldn't. He paused. I'm asking you to decide that you can, just for now. She thought about it for exactly as long as it deserved. Just for now, she said. He left. The woman who had met them at the door, Rosa learned her name was June, brought her tea without being asked, and didn't try to make conversation, which Rosa appreciated more than she could have explained. She sat at the kitchen table and drank it and let the silence settle around her. Then her phone buzzed. Not a call, a text. The same unknown number as before. You should have stayed on that bus. Last chance to walk away. Rosa's hand tightened on the mug. She read it 3 more times. Then she did something she hadn't done since she sat on the floor of the staff bathroom with the faucet running. She let herself be afraid. Really afraid all the way through without managing it. She sat with the fear for a full 30 seconds and let it show her everything it had, what it would mean if this went wrong, what would happen to Lily, what would happen to her, the size and weight of what she'd walked into. Then she put her phone down and called Dominic. He picked up on the second ring. What happened? Another text. Same number. She read it to him, word for word. A short silence. Screenshot it. Don't respond. Don't turn your phone off. His voice had shifted sharper, now moving. She could hear him walking. June is armed. You know that, yes. I didn't know that. She is, he said. Tell her I said to move you both to the back room, 2nd floor east side. No windows facing the road. Dominic, I'm 20 minutes from Finch, he said. When I have him, this stops. I need you to hold for 20 minutes. I can do 20 minutes. I know you can, he said, and for some reason, those 4 words steadied something in her that nothing else had managed to. I'll call you when it's done. He hung up. Rosa went upstairs and moved Lily, still deeply, wholly asleep, from the front room to the back without waking her. The little girl made a small, indignant sound at being repositioned and pulled Bun Bun tighter, and Rosa whispered, It's okay, it's just me. And Lily subsided immediately. Rosa sat in the chair beside the bed in that back room and watched the door and listened to the house and counted minutes. At 14 minutes, her phone rang. Dominic. It's done, he said. She exhaled. Finch. Talking, he said, very cooperatively. A pause. The text was sent by a woman named Dana Reese. She's Celeste's personal assistant, has been for 3 years, brought her in when she moved into the estate. Rosa went cold. Dana Reese, you know her. She's been in that house for 3 months, Rosa said. I thought she was Celeste's. She stopped. She had access to everything. Every room, the schedules, the cameras. I know, Dominic said. My people are picking her up now. She knows where this property is, Rosa said. If she had access to your phone, if she monitored your call with me. Rosa, she knows where we are. Rosa was already on her feet, already moving to the bed. Dominic, she knows this address. A beat, then June, he said, sharply, not to Rosa. Rosa could hear him talking to someone on another line. Heard the word property. Heard the word now. Get Lily and get to the back stairwell, Dominic said to her. There's a door at the bottom. Code is 4712. It opens to the service road. There will be a car there in 3 minutes. 3 minutes. I'm already sending it. Go. Rosa grabbed Lily. The little girl woke this time properly. Eyes flying open, startled and disoriented. She looked at Rosa's face, and what she found there made her go very still. Row, she said. Not a question, just naming the person in front of her. I've got you, Rosa said. Hold on tight. Lily wrapped both arms around her neck and didn't make a sound. And something in that, the child's absolute wordless trust even now. Even in the dark, even with Rosa moving fast down a stairwell she'd only seen once, made Rosa's eyes sting in a way she refused to let go further than that. She hit the door at the bottom. 4712. The lock clicked. Cold air again. The service road graveled dark, a thin stripe of pre-dawn gray along the horizon. She heard a car before she saw it. Headlights off, moving fast. It stopped. The driver's window came down. A man she didn't know, Rosa didn't recognize. Medina, he said. Yes. Get in. She hesitated for exactly 1 second. 1 second of standing in the cold, holding a 3-year-old with no visible options at 5:30 in the morning. Then she got in. The car moved immediately. No questions, no destination offered. Just motion, which right now was the only thing that mattered. Lily pressed her face against Rosa's neck. I don't have bun, she said very quietly. Rosa's heart clenched. She thought of the rabbit left on the bed in the back room. I know, baby, she said. He's scared without me, Lily said. He's very brave, Rosa said. He'll be okay. A silence, then Lily said with complete certainty, you'll get him back. Not a question, not a request. A statement of absolute faith offered in the dark by a 3-year-old who had decided with the ironclad logic of someone who has never yet been failed by the people she loves that Rosa would handle it. Rosa pressed her lips together. She looked out the window at the city beginning, barely to lighten at its edges. Yeah, she said. I'll get him back. Her phone rang. Dominic. She answered. Are you in the car? He said. Yes. Good. Dana Reese is in custody. A pause. Odd. My custody, not police. She understood the distinction without him elaborating. The property is being swept. You're going somewhere else now. Where? Somewhere that only I know, he said. This time I told no one. Not my security head, not my attorney. No one. Rosa leaned her head back against the seat. Okay, she said. There's something else, he said. His voice changed, not the flat, operational tone of the last hour. Something heavier. Finch talked about Elena. Rosa went still. It wasn't an accident, Dominic said. Very quiet. Final. Like a door closing on something. Celeste was involved. Finch handled the logistics. They've been planning this, all of it, for 2 years. The car was silent except for the engine and Lily's soft breathing. Dominic, Rosa said carefully, what are you going to do? The right thing, he said. That's not an answer. It's the only one I have right now, he said. I'll call you when you arrive. He hung up. Rosa held the phone in her lap and stared at the lightning sky outside the window, and thought about Celeste's voice through that 3-inch gap, a grieving father, a loving fiancé at his side. She thought about how thoroughly, how patiently, how completely it had all been constructed. She thought about the way Dominic had said Elena's name. Just the name, nothing after. She looked at Lily, who had fallen asleep again, with her head on Rosa's arm, trusting and warm and breathing steadily, completely unaware that twice in one night the world had tried to take her, and twice in one night the wrong people had underestimated a woman in a housekeeping uniform. Rosa adjusted her arm so Lily's head was more comfortable. Outside, the city was getting lighter, and somewhere on the other side of it, Dominic Vega was moving towards something that had no clean ending, only a necessary one. Rosa didn't know yet what it would cost him. She didn't know what it would cost her. She didn't know what came after this car ride, or after the day, or after the moment when everything that had been built on lies finally finished falling. But she knew Lily was breathing. She knew Bun Bun would be found. And she knew with the same quiet, bone-deep certainty she'd carried out of that nursery in the dark that she had not made a mistake. Whatever the text said, whatever was coming, she had not made a mistake. The car stopped in front of a building Rosa didn't recognize, in a part of the city she'd never had reason to visit. Not a house this time. Something that looked from the outside like nothing at all, the specific anonymity of a place designed to be forgotten. The driver said, 3rd floor, someone's waiting. Rosa got out with Lily still half asleep against her shoulder and walked through a door that opened before she reached it. A man she didn't know held it, nodded once, said nothing. She went up 2 flights of stairs, turned left, and found a door already open at the end of the hall. Inside was a woman, late 40s, sharp eyes, the kind of face that had learned to give nothing away and had been practicing long enough that it looked natural. She was sitting at a table with a laptop open and a phone next to it and a coffee cup that had been there long enough to go cold. She looked at Rosa, then at Lily, then back at Rosa. "Rosa Medina," the woman said. Not a question. "Yes." "Sit down, I'm Agent Carla Reeves." She paused. "Federal." Rosa sat down. Slowly, Lily stirred, lifted her head, looked at the woman with the frank curiosity of someone who had not yet learned to find strangers threatening. "Hi," Lily said. "Hi," Reeves said, and for just a second, something in her face softened. Then it was gone. She looked at Rosa. "Dominic Vega called me 40 minutes ago." Rosa said nothing. She was processing the word federal and everything it pulled behind it. "I've known Dominic for 6 years, Reeves said, before Rosa could ask. Not in the way you might think. He's assisted with 2 federal investigations, voluntarily, in exchange for certain considerations regarding his other business activities." She said it the way professionals say things they're not entirely proud of but have made their peace with. "He's not clean, but he's useful. And right now what he's given me tonight is more useful than anything I've had in 3 years. "Celeste," Rosa said. "Celeste Harmon is connected to a money laundering operation that runs through 4 states, Reeves said. "We've known about the operation for 18 months. We didn't know she was the link until 2 hours ago when Dominic handed us Warren Finch." She paused. "Finch is talking very fast. The way people talk when they understand that cooperation is the only currency they have left." Rosa looked at the table. She thought about 8 months of dinners, of kissed goodnights, of a woman who had sat across from Dominic Vega building a case for her own future on the body of a 3-year-old child. She was going to inherit through Dominic, Rosa said. After Lily. "The estate alone is worth $40 million, Reeves said, but that's not actually what she wanted. Dominic has holdings legitimate and otherwise that connect to about a dozen shell companies. Celeste's organization needed a clean pathway for their money. Dominic's infrastructure was perfect for it." She paused. Lily was in the way, and Elena, she stopped. "Elena wasn't an accident," Rosa said. Reeves looked at her steadily. "No, she wasn't." She closed the laptop slightly, like she was reducing the distance between them. "Dominic knows. I've confirmed it with him. It's part of what Finch gave us tonight." Rosa sat with that for a moment. She thought about Dominic's voice on the phone, the right thing. She thought about the way he'd said his wife's name. Just the name alone, with nothing after it. "Where is he now?" Rosa said. "Handling it," Reeves said. "What does that mean?" "It means he made me a promise that this goes through legal channels," Reeves said. "And I believe him, because Dominic Vega, whatever else he is, keeps his promises." She said it with the specific confidence of someone who had tested that statement and found it reliable. Rosa looked at Lily, who had climbed down from her lap and was investigating the far corner of the room with the focused energy of a child who had slept enough and was now ready to engage with the world. "And Celeste," Rosa said. "In federal custody as of 40 minutes ago," Reeves said. "Dana Reese as well. We're working on the rest of the network." She paused. "I need your statement, Rosa. Everything you heard, everything you did, in order, in detail from the beginning." Now, the Reeves turned the laptop to face her. "I need it on record before defense attorneys start building walls. You're the primary witness. Everything else, Finch's testimony, the financial trail, all of it, it's stronger with you at the center of it too." Rosa looked at the screen. She thought about what it meant to be the primary witness in a federal case against people with lawyers whose hourly rate was more than her monthly salary. She thought about what it meant to have her name on a document official, permanent, attached to all of this. She thought about Lily in the corner picking up a pen that had fallen on the floor, examining it with great seriousness. "Okay," Rosa said, "from the beginning." She talked for 40 minutes. Reeves asked questions that were precise and few the questions of someone who already knew a great deal and was filling in specific gaps rather than building from nothing. Rosa answered everything. She didn't soften anything, didn't speculate, didn't add color where she didn't have fact. She said what she had heard, what she had seen, what she had done, and why. When she finished, Reeves looked at her for a long moment. "You're not a nervous witness," she said. "I don't have anything to be nervous about," Rosa said. "I told you the truth. Most people are nervous anyway." "Most people have something to hide," Rosa said. "I hid a 3-year-old in a blanket and walked her out of a house through a service exit. I'm not ashamed of that. I'd do it again." Reeves almost smiled. Almost. "You might have to say that to a jury," she said. "Then I'll say it to a jury." Her phone rang. Dominic. She picked it up. "Are you with Reeves?" he said. "Yes." "Good." His voice was different. Not the operational sharpness of the past few hours. Not the raw things she'd heard in the voicemail from the Greyhound station. Something settled. Something that had moved through a long, difficult night and come out the other side. "It's done, Rosa. All of it. Celeste, Finch, Reese, federal custody, all 3. The rest of the network is being pulled in through the morning." "I know," Rosa said. "I'm here with Reeves." "Is Lily?" "She's fine. She found a pen. She's doing something with it in the corner that I'm choosing not to examine too closely." A pause. She heard him breathe. It was the breath of someone who had been holding something very heavy and has just very carefully set it down. "Can I talk to her?" Rosa looked at Lily. "Lily," she said, "your dad wants to say hi." Lily looked up immediately. Rosa held out the phone. The little girl crossed the room with complete purpose, took the phone in both hands and pressed it to her ear. "Daddy," she said. Rosa couldn't hear what Dominic said. She just watched Lily's face, which went through about 6 expressions. In 4 seconds, attention, pleasure, mild indignation at something, laughter. And then Lily said very seriously, "Bun Bun is somewhere else. It's a situation." Rosa pressed her lips together. Lily listened to whatever her father said, actually nodded as if he could see her, and said, "Okay, okay, Daddy." Rosa said she'll fix it. She held the phone back out to Rosa with the air of someone who has concluded their business. Rosa took it. "She says I'm fixing the Bun Bun situation," she said. "I heard," Dominic said. And now there was something in his voice she hadn't heard from him at all in 11 months or across this entire night. Something light, something that had survived. "I also told her you were the bravest person I know." Rosa was quiet for a moment. "You don't know me," she said. "I'm working on it," he said. Reeves was looking at her with that careful, neutral expression. Rosa met her eyes and looked away. "When can we leave?" she asked. "Lily needs to eat something real, and I need to—" She paused. She didn't actually know what she needed after that. The sentence just ran out. "Few more hours," Reeves said. "I need you available while we process the initial arrests. After that, you're free." And then Rosa said, and then Reeves said, "Is up to you." Up to her. Rosa sat with that for a moment. She hadn't thought past the immediate. She'd been thinking in blocks of 20 minutes in sequences of one move followed by the next move in the tight, functional logic of a woman managing a crisis. She hadn't thought about after. She wasn't sure she'd believed in an after until this exact moment. She had a room in the staff quarters of the Vega estate which she could no longer go back to. She had $400 minus the crackers and the taxi and the bus tickets, which she hadn't even used. She had a sister in Phoenix who didn't know any of this had happened. She took her phone and stepped into the hallway. She called Maya. It rang 4 times. Then Rosa, thick with sleep, alarmed. "It's 7 in the morning. What happened?" "I'm okay," Rosa said immediately. "I'm okay, I just—" She stopped. She pressed her back against the wall and looked at the ceiling and felt for the first time in hours the specific kind of tired that lives below the physical kind. "I just needed to hear your voice." A silence on the other end. Then Maya, who had known her sister for 31 years and understood that when Rosa called at 7 in the morning saying she just needed to hear a voice, there was a great deal underneath that statement, "Tell me." So Rosa told her, the condensed version, the shape of it. Maya listened without interrupting, which was not her natural mode, and when Rosa finished, there was a pause that had the particular quality of someone choosing their words deliberately. "You took the mob boss's kid," Maya said. "He's not." Rosa paused. "The situation is more nuanced than that. You took the mob boss's kid and hid in a bus station and then called him and made him listen to you, Mom." "Yes." "And then a federal agent showed up. She was already working the case. He called her." "Rosa." Maya's voice had that quality it sometimes got the older sister voice, the one that had been worrying about Rosa since they were children. Are you safe? Yes, Rosa said, and she was surprised to find that she meant it. Completely. I'm safe. And the baby, Lily, she's fine. She's concerned about her rabbit. Of course she is. A pause. What do you need? I don't know yet, Rosa said honestly. I'll know more in a few hours. I might need to, she stopped. I might need somewhere to go. For a little while. Until I figure out the next thing. Rosa, Maya said with the flat simplicity of someone for whom this was not a complicated question. You come here, you know that, you don't ask that question. I know, Rosa said. I know. You call me when you're ready. I'll be here. They hung up. Rosa stood in the hallway for another minute, just breathing. Then Reeves opened the door. Her expression had changed slightly, not softer exactly, but different. I need you back in here, she said. Something's come up. Rosa went back in. Reeves turned the laptop to face her. On the screen was a photograph. A man, mid-50s, heavy-set, expensive suit, the kind of face that had appeared in newspapers enough times that it carried its own context. Do you recognize him? Reeves said. Rosa looked at the photograph for a long moment. She looked at the shape of the jaw, the set of the shoulders, and then she heard it as clearly as she'd heard it through the 3-inch gap in the nursery door. Rough, impatient, in the timing you said after the party. That's the voice, she said. The man in the room with Celeste. Reeves nodded slowly. His name is Gerald Mast, she said. He's a city councilman. 3 terms, chair of the Public Safety Committee. She paused, letting that land. Which means he has direct oversight of the police department, and specifically over which cases get prioritized and which cases, she paused again, don't. Rosa stared at the photograph. He's the reason a police report wouldn't have worked, she said. A report through normal channels would have been on his desk within 24 hours, Reeves said, and on Celeste's phone within the hour after that. She looked at Rosa. You going to a federal agent, even unintentionally through Dominic, is the only reason any of this is moving. If you'd walked into a police station that night, Rosa, I would have been sent home, Rosa said. Best case, Reeves said. Yes. Rosa looked at Lily, who had used the pen to draw something on a piece of paper from the printer tray and was now presenting it to the room at large with the satisfied air of a completed project. And Mast, Rosa said. We're picking him up, and Reeves checked her watch. 11 minutes. We needed your identification to finalize the warrant. She looked at Rosa. You just did something significant. Rosa looked at Gerald Mast's photograph. City councilman, 3 terms, Public Safety Committee. The man who had stood in a nursery with Dominic Vega's fiancée and talked about timing and accidents and a little girl's fear of the dark. I heard a voice through a door, Rosa said. Yes, Reeves said. You did. And you remembered it. She closed the laptop. That's enough. That's exactly enough. Her phone rang. She stepped away to answer it, her voice dropping. Rosa turned to Lily. What did you draw? She said. Lily presented the paper. It was objectively a collection of lines that could have been anything. It's Bun Bun, Lily said. So he's not lost. I made a picture so we remember what he looks like. Rosa took the paper. She looked at the drawing, the wild, determined lines of a 3-year-old who had decided that memory was a form of keeping. It looks exactly like him, she said. Lily nodded, satisfied. I know, she said. Reeves came back. Something had shifted in her posture, not alarm, but heightened attention. Mast's lawyer made contact 20 minutes ago, she said. Before the warrant was finalized, someone tipped him. Her eyes were level on Rosa's. He's going to try to move fast. File something that creates noise before we can lock this down. What does that mean for us? Rosa said. It means I need to move you again, Reeves said, and I need Dominic here, now. She was already dialing. Rosa picked up Lily, who went easily, wrapping her arms around Rosa's neck with the uncomplicated trust that had been the most constant thing in the last 8 hours. Rosa held her and watched Reeves talk into the phone and thought about the layered interlocking machinery of what she'd stumbled into: a city councilman, a federal operation, a 2-year plan built on grief and money, and the calculated murder of a woman named Elena, who had laughed and loved her daughter and had no idea what was coming. She thought about how close it had been. She thought about a 3-inch gap in a door. She thought about a laundry cart and the one dryer in the East Wing that didn't shrink cotton and the small stubborn act of caring that had put her in that hallway at exactly that moment. She thought about all the ways the night could have gone differently. Dominic arrived 18 minutes later. He came through the door and his eyes found Lily. First, they always found Lily first. Rosa had noticed as if everything else in a room was secondary until that specific location was confirmed, and then he crossed to where they were standing, and he crouched down to his daughter's level. "Hey, Bug," he said. "Daddy, I drew Bun Bun," Lily said and presented the paper. He looked at it with complete seriousness. "That's a great drawing," he said. "I know," Lily said. "He has 3 legs in it because I ran out of room, but I know he has 4. "Very accurate," Dominic said. He stood. His eyes moved to Rosa, and in them she saw the accumulated weight of the night. What he'd done, what he'd found, what he now knew about his wife, that he could never unknow. It sat on him visibly, not breaking him, but present. "How are you?" he said. "Ask me in a week." "Oh," Rosa said. Something crossed his face. "Fair," he said. Reeves pulled him aside and they talked in low voices for several minutes. Rosa watched without hearing. Watched the way Dominic absorbed information, still focused, the occasional tightening of his jaw, the only outward sign of what was landing. She watched him ask questions and listen to the answers and nod once, twice with the compact efficiency of a man who had long ago learned to process bad information without letting it stop him. Then he turned back to her. "Mass lawyer is filing an emergency motion," he said, "claiming federal overreach. It's a delay tactic. It won't hold, but it buys him time." "Time to do what?" Rosa said. "Create an alternate narrative," Dominic said. "He's going to try to make this about me, about my business, about a disgruntled employee making accusations to deflect from—" He stopped. "It doesn't matter. Reeves knows how to handle it." He looked at her. "But your statement is going to be challenged. Your credibility is going to be challenged. I want you to know that. I want you to hear it from me, not from a headline." Rosa looked at him steadily. "Let them challenge it," she said. Rosa's "I know what I heard," she said. "I know what I did and why. I am not afraid of anyone asking me questions." She paused. "I spent 11 months being invisible in your house, Dominic. I am done being invisible. If they want to put me in a room and ask me what I heard and what I did, I will tell them. Exactly. Every word, every step, and I will not flinch." He was quiet for a moment. "No," he said. "I don't suppose you will." Lily had climbed onto a chair and was now standing on it, examining the ceiling with academic interest. Dominic reached over without looking and put a hand on her back to steady her automatic as breathing. "Where will you go?" he said. "After." "My sister's," Rosa said. "Phoenix." He nodded, a pause. "I'd like to, not immediately, not today, but I'd like to make sure that you have what you need, resources, legal support, whatever comes out of this process." He said it carefully, watching her reaction. "Not as payment. I don't mean it like that. I mean that you did something that most people would not have done, and I would like to—" He stopped. "I'm not sure of the right word." "The right word is help," Rosa said. "Yes." "Then yes," she said, "I accept that." "Thank you." He nodded. They stood in a silence that was not uncomfortable, the silence of 2 people who have been through something extreme together and are now standing on the other side of it, still slightly stunned to be upright. Then Reeves said, from across the room, "Mass just posted bail." The room went completely still. "He had a bail package prepared," Reeves said, her voice carrying the particular flatness of someone controlling a strong reaction, "which means they knew the warrant was coming before we executed it." She looked at Dominic. "Your attorney." Dominic's face changed, not surprise, something past surprise, something darker and more quiet. "Marcus," he said, "just the name." "We're pulling his communications now," Reeves said. Rosa thought about the car ride, my attorney, one of the 2 people Dominic had called in those first 2 hours, the one who had apparently made one more call before the night was over. She watched Dominic stand very still with that knowledge and thought about how many times tonight he had been required to revise his understanding of the people around him. "I'm sorry," she said. He looked at her. "For what?" "For all of it," she said. "For Elena. For all the people you trusted who—" She stopped. "I'm sorry." He was quiet for a long moment. Then you didn't do any of that, he said. No, she said, but I'm still sorry it happened. He looked at her with that expression she'd seen several times across this long night. The one she'd started to understand was him encountering something he hadn't prepared for and didn't have a category for. Something that fit none of the frameworks he normally used to organize people and situations. You're a very unusual person, Rosa Medina, he said. I'm a person who does laundry and listens at doors, she said. He almost laughed, not quite. The corners of his mouth moved. Yes, he said, and thank God for that. Lily climbed down from the chair and walked over and took Rosa's hand. Just took it without asking, without announcing the way she always did, when she felt like it, complete unthinking, the confidence of a child who has never been told her instincts are wrong. Rosa looked down at her. Lily looked up. Can we get food now, she said. I've been very patient. And Rosa standing in a federal safe house at 8 in the morning with a city councilman on the loose and a corrupt attorney being pulled apart by federal agents and a man across the room who was rearranging everything he'd thought he knew. Rosa looked at this 3-year-old who had been through a night that would leave marks on anyone older and was currently focused with absolute priority on breakfast. Yeah, baby, she said. We can get food now. Food turned out to be a paper bag of egg sandwiches that Reeves's assistant brought from a diner 2 blocks away. Lily ate hers with the focused intensity of someone who had earned it, which she had. Rosa ate half of hers and didn't notice until Dominic pushed the other half back toward her and said quietly, eat the way you say it to someone who has forgotten that their body is still running on something. She ate. Reeves was on the phone continuously moving in and out of the room, her voice low and clipped. Each time she came back, her expression told Rosa something without words. The small tightening around her eyes meant complications. The brief loosening of her shoulders meant progress. Rosa had learned to read rooms. 11 months of being invisible had made her fluent in what faces said when they thought no one was watching. Gerald Mast was out on bail. That fact sat in the room with all of them like something with weight. He's not a flight risk, Reeves said when she came back in the 3rd time. He's a political animal. His entire identity is tied to this city. He won't run. She looked at Dominic. But he will talk to press. He'll start building the narrative the minute his lawyer tells him it's safe. What narrative? Rosa said. That this is a vendetta, Reeves said. Dominic Vega targeting a political opponent through fabricated federal claims. He'll paint you as a coached witness, a plant. She met Rosa's eyes directly. He'll argue that a housekeeper who was about to be fired. I wasn't about to be fired, Rosa said. I know that. He'll say it anyway. Reeves pulled out a chair and sat. Rosa, you're going to be in news coverage by afternoon. I want you to be prepared for that. Rosa looked at the table. She thought about her name in a headline. She thought about her face on a screen. She thought about Celeste's smile in the laundry room doorway and the words, "This city is a very small place," and felt something harden in her chest that was not anger and was not fear, but was the thing that lives between them. Let him say it, Rosa said. You're sure, Reeves said. He can say whatever he wants, Rosa said. I know what I heard. You have Finch's testimony. You have financial records. You have Dana Reese. She paused. A man in a suit calling me a liar doesn't change any of that. Reeves looked at her for a moment. No, she said. It doesn't. Dominic hadn't spoken. Rosa glanced at him. He was watching Lily, who had finished her sandwich and was now using the paper bag to make something unclear, what with the focused creativity of a child who required constant occupation. His expression was the specific expression of a man cataloging something he almost lost. Going through the inventory of it, counting. Your attorney, Rosa said to him quietly. Marcus, how long has he been with you? 7 years, Dominic said. And Celeste introduced them. Or, no. He frowned slightly. Marcus was mine first. He stopped. She watched him work back through 7 years of memory with new information applied to it, like a key that opens locks you didn't know existed. He introduced me to Celeste, he said. The room went very still. Marcus introduced you to Celeste, Rosa said. At a charity event, Dominic said. His voice had gone flat in that particular way again. 2 years ago, 4 months after Elena. Rosa and Reeves looked at each other across the table. Finch said the operation had been in planning for 2 years, Rosa said. Yes, Reeves said. She was already on her phone to Marcus Hale has been Vega's attorney for 7 years. If he's been embedded with Celeste's organization from the start, she stood up. This is bigger than we mapped last night. She was already walking, already dialing. Don't move, she said to both of them, to the room, to the situation. She went out. Dominic sat very still. Lily looked up from her paper bag project. She looked at her father's face the way children do, directly, without social filter, reading the emotional temperature with the accuracy of someone who learned to do it before they learned to talk. She got up from her chair, walked over, and climbed into his lap without invitation or announcement. She settled herself, picked up his hand, and placed it on her back, patted it once, then went back to her paper bag. Something moved across Dominic Vega's face that Rosa looked away from. Some things were not meant to be witnessed. Some things a person needed to feel without an audience. She gave him 30 seconds. Then she said, 7 years. Yes, he said. He was there through Elena's death. He handled the estate administration afterward. His voice was controlled. Barely. He recommended the firm that handled the accident investigation. Rosa closed her eyes for half a second. When she opened them, Dominic was looking at her with that expression she now recognized, not the mob boss, not the bereaved father, not the operational machine who had moved through the night, making calls and giving orders. Something underneath all of those. Something that had been under them all along and was only visible now in a fluorescent-lit room at 8 in the morning, with his daughter in his lap and 7 years of trust burning down around him. I need you to tell me something true, he said. Okay, she said. Did you know? When you worked in my house, did you know what kind of man I am? What I do? She held his gaze. Yes, she said. I figured it out in the second week. And you stayed. The job paid well, she said. And you left me alone, and Lily, she looked at the little girl. Lily was there. That's why you took her, he said. Not just because you heard what Celeste said. I already loved her, Rosa said simply. Yes. She said it without embarrassment, without apology, the way you say true things when there's no longer any point in managing them. She used to bring me Bun Bun every morning like she was introducing us for the first time. Every single morning, same introduction, complete sincerity. She paused. You can't not love that. Dominic looked at his daughter. Lily was now wearing the paper bag on her head like a hat and appeared to find this deeply satisfying. No, he said, you can't. A silence, comfortable almost, the strange comfort of two people who have been through something together that neither of them entirely has words for. Then his phone rang. He looked at the screen, his jaw set. It's Marcus, he said. Rosa watched him. He's calling because he doesn't know we know, Dominic said. He thinks he's still... He stopped. He looked at the phone ringing in his hand. If I answer, I could find out more. What he knows. What he's told Mast. Or Reeves picks him up in an hour and finds it out without you having to hear his voice, Rosa said. Dominic looked at her. You don't owe him a conversation, she said. You don't owe him anything. He let the call go to voicemail. The phone stopped ringing. He put it face down on the table. Lily pulled the bag off her head and looked at it critically. Ro, she said, this needs something. What does it need? A face, Lily said, with the certainty of someone who has thought this through. I'll see if I can find a pen, Rosa said. She found a marker in a cup on the desk near the window. She brought it back and sat beside Lily and drew a face on the paper bag. Eyes, a nose, a slightly lopsided mouth. Lily examined it with great seriousness. Give it ears, she said. Rosa gave it ears. Good, Lily said. She patted the bag. Now it's a person. Now it's a person, Rosa agreed. Dominic watched them. Something settled in his face, not relief, not peace. Those were too resolved for what this was, just presence. The specific quality of a man who has survived something and is still in this moment here. Reeves came back. She was moving differently now, faster, more contained, the walk of someone who has just received information that is significant and has not yet decided how to carry it. She looked at Dominic. Marcus Hale's financial records show payments from 3 shell companies over 6 years. Una, she said. We missed him because he was embedded before the operation formalized. He's not a recruit, he's a founder. The word landed in the room like something dropped from a height. 7 years, Dominic said. Yes, Reeves said. He built this. He facilitated the access, Reeves has said. Celeste and Mast are the operational leads. But Hale is what made it viable. He's the reason they could get close enough to you. He's the reason the investigation into Elena's accident was closed. He's the reason, She stopped, looked at Dominic. He's been billing you for 7 years while he was working to take everything you have. The silence was absolute except for Lily humming something to herself over the paper bag. Where is he now? Dominic said. His voice was very quiet. We have a team at his office, Reeves said. He's there. He doesn't know we know yet. She paused. I want to bring him in within the hour, before he talks to Mast's lawyer and they figure out what we have. Do it, Dominic said. She stepped away again. Rosa watched him. His hands were flat on the table, both of them pressed down the posture of someone who is physically managing something with their body because there is nowhere else to put it. 7 years, he said again. Not to Rosa, just to the room. I know, she said. I brought him to Elena's funeral, he said. He sat in the front row. He paused. He helped me write her obituary. Rosa said nothing. Some things again required no response. Some things you simply had to stand next to. After a moment, Dominic straightened. He looked at Rosa with clear eyes. After today, he said, the legal situation for you, your status, your documentation. I want to have someone look at that properly, someone I actually trust, which is a shorter list than it was yesterday. I'm documented, Rosa said. I know, he paused. I want to make sure you have everything you need, not just legal coverage for the testimony, everything, housing, stability. He said it carefully, watching her. You don't have to stay in this city. I understand if you don't want to, but if you do, or if you go to Phoenix, or wherever, I'd like to know you're not starting from nothing. Rosa looked at him. Why, she said, genuinely asking. Because you ran into a burning building, he said, except the building was my life, and you didn't have to. He paused. And because Lily draws Bun Bun in 3 legs to remember him, and she learned that from somewhere, that keeping things safe in memory, that's not something that just happens. Rosa felt something shift behind her sternum, quietly without announcement. I'll think about it, she said. That's enough, he said. Reeves came back. Hale is in custody, she said. He went quietly. His lawyer advised him to cooperate. She almost smiled. Apparently, even his lawyer isn't willing to go down with the ship. She looked at both of them. It's over. All 4 of them. Federal charges filed this morning. Mast's bail is being revoked based on Hale's testimony. She looked at Rosa. You can go home. I don't have a home at the moment, Rosa said. You know what I mean, Reeves said, and her voice was for the first time all morning simply human. You can go. They left the building at 10:47 in the morning. Dominic carried Lily, who had fallen asleep again, the particular sleep of a child who has had an adventure and filed it away and is done with it, the kind of sleep that contains no nightmares, because the world is still fundamentally trustworthy when you are 3 and Rosa Medina is carrying you. Except this time Dominic was carrying her. Rosa walked beside them. The October air was cold and bright, the kind of morning that feels like it was recently cleaned. They stood on the sidewalk. The car was waiting. Neither of them moved toward it immediately. Phoenix, Dominic said. For now, Rosa said. You'll come back for the trial. Yes. And before that, he paused. Lily is going to ask about you every day. I want you to know that. She's going to ask where you are and why you're not there, and I'm going to have to figure out what to tell her. Tell her I had to go help my sister, Rosa said. Tell her I'll call. She'll want to talk to Bun Bun, Dominic said. Put him on the phone, Rosa said. I'll address my remarks to him directly. He almost smiled. The corners moved. It was getting closer to a real one. She could tell it was getting closer. I recovered him, Dominic said. Bun Bun, someone from my team went back to the Hartwell property. He was on the bed. He reached into the inside pocket of his jacket and produced the rabbit slightly compressed from travel. He held it out to Rosa. She took it, looked at it, looked at the sleeping Lily. Give it to her when she wakes up, she said. She held it back. He took it. She's going to remember you, he said. Not the night. She won't remember the details of the night, but she'll remember you. The way children remember the people who made them feel safe. It becomes part of how they understand the world. He looked at Rosa. She's going to grow up knowing that someone chose her, without being asked, without being paid, without any reason except that it was right. Rosa looked at Lily's sleeping face. The dark eyes closed, the small fist curled under her chin, the absolute peace of someone who was at this particular moment completely safe. "That's enough," Rosa said. "Yes," he said. She picked up her bag. She looked at him. This man she had worked for without knowing, cleaned around without speaking, to build 11 months of invisible life in proximity to without ever once expecting anything like this morning. "Make care of her," she said. "I will," he said. And this one she believed without question, the way she'd believed his promise in the car. Some people carry their promises in a way you can see. She turned and walked down the sidewalk toward the corner where she'd pull up the ride app and head to her sister's apartment across the city, and from there eventually to Phoenix. She had $400 minus approximately 40. She had her ID and her bank card and her phone at 31% battery and the address in her sock that she didn't need anymore because she knew it by heart. She had gotten 3/4 of the way down the block when she heard him. "Rosa." She turned. He was standing on the sidewalk with Lily asleep against his shoulder and Bun Bun in his other hand, and he was looking at her the way people look when they're deciding whether to say the thing they haven't said yet. "Thank you," he said. "Not just for Lily, he paused, for calling me back, for giving me the chance to be another pause, for letting me be the person she needed me to be tonight." Rosa looked at him for a moment. Then she said, "You were already that person. You just needed someone to hand you the information." He nodded slowly. She turned back around and walked to the corner. "Home." She called Maya from the cab. "I'm coming to the airport," Maya said immediately. "What time does your flight?" "I don't have a flight yet," Rosa said. "I need a few hours. I have some things to finish here." "Rosa," the older sister voice. "What kind of things?" "Good things," Rosa said. "I'll explain everything on the plane, I promise." "You better," Maya said. "I've been up since 7. I made coffee. I've been sitting here." "I know," Rosa said. "I know. I'll call you when I have a flight number." "Rosa." "Yeah." "I'm proud of you," Maya said, very simply, no preamble. "I don't know everything that happened, but I know you. And whatever you did, I'm proud." Rosa looked out the window at the city moving past, the October morning bright and cold, the streets filling up with people who had slept through everything and were now buying coffee and walking dogs and living the ordinary, unexamined texture of a day that had not required them to run into the dark with someone else's child. "Thanks, Maya," she said. "Come home," Maya said. "I'm coming," Rosa said. 3 months later, a federal court in the state accepted guilty pleas from Warren Finch and Dana Reese. Gerald Mast's trial was set for spring. Marcus Hale's cooperation with federal prosecutors resulted in charges that carried a minimum of 12 years. Celeste Harmon contested everything, then hired new counsel, then entered a plea negotiation that Reeves described to Rosa over the phone. It's uncomfortable for everyone involved, which is as it should be. Rosa testified in a pre-trial deposition in January. She sat in a room with 2 federal attorneys, a court reporter, and a defense lawyer who asked her questions for 4 hours in the specific, relentless way that defense lawyers ask questions when they have no actual counter-narrative and are simply hoping the witness will contradict themselves. She did not contradict herself. She said what she'd heard, what she'd seen, what she'd done, in order, in detail, without flinching. Afterward, Reeves walked her to the elevator and said, "You're a good witness." "I told the truth," Rosa said. "That's what makes someone a good witness," Reeves said. Rosa had found an apartment in Phoenix by November. Small 2 rooms, the kind of building where the super fixed things when you called and the neighbors kept to themselves and the light in the mornings came through the east window in a way that she found to her surprise beautiful. She was working at a legal aid clinic, answering phones, helping people fill out forms, learning the specific geography of where bureaucracy failed people and where it could be pushed. She was thinking about going back to school. She was thinking about a lot of things that this time last year she had not allowed herself the luxury of thinking about. She called Lily on Tuesdays. Video calls. Lily would carry the phone around the house showing Rosa things, a drawing, a book. Something Bun Bun had allegedly done the window where she had spotted what she described as a very large bird, and which Dominic, appearing briefly in the background, had suggested was a pigeon. Lily had been offended by this and maintained that it was an eagle and that her father was wrong. Rosa had sided with Lily. Dominic had said, appearing more fully in the frame, "You're undermining my authority." The bird was very large, Rosa had said. It was a pigeon. Then explained, Rosa had said, why it was so large. He had not had an answer for that. Lily had looked vindicated. Bun Bun had been held up to the camera for Rosa to greet, which she did, because Bun Bun had been through things, and he deserved acknowledgement. It was, Rosa thought afterward, one of the best conversations she'd had in months. In February, she got a message from Dominic, not a phone call. A message typed, which was how he communicated when he wanted to say something without the momentum of a conversation carrying it somewhere he hadn't planned. Lily asked me this morning if Rosa lives in our hearts. I told her yes. She said good, because then Rosa is always warm. I don't know where she gets these things. I thought you should know. Rosa read it twice. Then she set her phone down and looked at the east window and the morning light coming through it, and she thought about a 3-inch gap in a door and a laundry cart and one dryer in the east wing that didn't shrink cotton, and the particular, specific, unremarkable stubbornness of caring about a small thing. She thought about how the whole night had pivoted on that, on her own refusal to stop caring even when it was invisible, even when no one would have noticed or called her out for stopping. She had kept doing the small right thing, and the small right thing had put her in the hallway, and the hallway had put her in the gap, and the gap had changed everything. She thought about Lily saying, Rosa said she'll fix it. Not can you fix it, not will you fix it. Rosa said she'll fix it. Past tense. Already decided. Already true in the way that 3-year-olds make things true with complete and unrevised belief. She picked up her phone and typed back, tell her she's always warm too. Tell her Bun Bun says hello. She put the phone in her pocket. She picked up her bag. She walked out the door into the February morning, into a city that was still learning her name, into a life she was still building, from the materials she had, which were not many, but were hers entirely and completely, hers earned with her own hands and her own nerve, and her own refusal to be invisible when it mattered. She had chosen someone. She had been chosen back. She had told the truth in a room full of people who wanted her to flinch, and she had not flinched, and the truth had held. That was enough. That was more than enough. That was, as it turned out, everything. Rosa Medina walked down the sidewalk in the February light and did not look back, because everything she was walking toward was already finally ahead of her.